Why is it important for these kids to get the opportunity to do this?
Well, I can't think of a city that's a better fit for a symphony orchestra to go to, especially a young one. The city of Vienna is still known really as the musical capital of the world, and pretty much every composer in our canon performed there, lived there, worked there, tried very hard to get positions in, conducting the Vienna Phil. Of course, Mahler was perhaps their most famous conductor, composer. Mozart tried to get a position as music director of the St. Stephen's Cathedral year after year, and they kept turning him down, which, in retrospect, maybe was a big mistake for them. But every composer was drawn to that. Haydn was there, Schubert was there, Bruckner, Brahms, Mahler, Beethoven lived there at one point. Of course, the Strauss family was very big in Vienna, and not only musicians but philosophers. Goethe was there. Artists, Oskar Kokoschka more recently lived there, and so it's just served as an arts mecca. And the history of that is so prevalent everywhere you go in Vienna, particularly, but of course in smaller towns like Salzburg, which is where Mozart was from, and the Mozart family lived. And I think it's just inspirational for the kids to be able to walk into Mozart's house. I mean, there's actually two houses in Salzburg that he lived in, and there's one in Vienna that he lived in. But the house that he was born in, and to just see, this is where the family lived, this is where he was born. His little violin that he practiced on when he was a kid is right there. That's just inspirational. So we're doing Bernstein's Candide Overture from his opera, and we're doing 3 pieces from Copland's Rodeo, his famous ballet. And we will probably also be playing a Copland piece from Appalachian Spring, which is, you probably know, the Simple Gifts, but a shaker melody, variations on the shaker melody. In addition, we're featuring a number of composers people might not be as familiar with, but Morton Gould. We're performing the Pavane from his Symphoniette No. 2. The jazz influence comes across, of course, in American music. And another piece I'm excited about is Florence Price's Jubadance, which is from her first symphony. It's the 3rd movement, and that should be again a very joyful sort of a piece to play. And we're also most likely playing Mark O'Connor, reprising a piece we played in the last year or so, his Appalachian Waltz. And I thought that would be very appropriate because, of course, Mark lives in Charlotte now, and of course, the Appalachian Mountains are just down the road, so very local. And the piece I'm maybe most excited about is the Havana Symphony No. 2, which we'll be concluding the program with, which is a piece subtitled Mysterious Mountain. And that symphony has a very spiritual component. He was very heavily into nature. He did pieces on whales and things like that. And when Mount St. Helens erupted, he wrote a symphony on that as well. But this piece is earlier, and a beautiful piece. We played it in the past, and I thought it would really resonate in some of the churches that we were playing in. So that's a piece I'm excited about as well.
Why is it important to support YOC and their trip, and YOC in general?
Well, it's I think it's very, very important to have a really quality youth orchestra in Charlotte. Charlotte has grown tremendously, and the level of the young musicians has grown, and I think YOC is committed to fostering a really talented bunch of kids, and so I think that's the reason for our existence. I want us to be the premier orchestra and to keep being the premier youth orchestra in Charlotte, and so trips like this just further